Please pronounce your name correctly for me.
Heinrich Carstens is my name.
And you are the, what's the term, executive director?
No, I'm the director of the fair.
Director of Positions Art
Positions Fair. And paper positions, which is a special format we created 3 years ago.
Okay.
And this is a special art fair for works on paper.
Lovely.
And we do that in Berlin, where we started. Then we went to Munich. We are in Basel and in Frankfurt, where we did it for the first time last week.
Okay.
That was a challenge. 2 art fairs in 2 weeks.
I would imagine.
But we survived it.
Yeah. So, okay. And you were one of the founders of this?
Yeah.
No, so tell me a little bit of background. Like why would somebody, anybody in the world just go like, you know what I want to do? I'm not busy enough. I don't have enough life. I want to run an art fair. How'd you get to that
was
point?
A simple decision. I'm working in the art market since I think 19, 20. I was doing jobs on art fairs in Basel, Cologne, Madrid, just as a job. And well, suddenly I met a lot of artists and gallerists, and then I opened a gallery by accident. And
how does one by accident open a gallery?
Well, as I said, I met a lot of artists and a lot of collectors, and I was buying art as a dealer. I had no idea what I was buying. I had no idea about art, contemporary art. It was just an investment, and because somebody told me that was way back in the 80s. Some friends of mine were in the business, and they told me if you buy an artwork with a good eye or you have a good advisor, you can sell it with a lot of profit into the next 2 years. So I thought, well, I could try that. I invested like 2,000 German marks. Mm-hmm. And it worked out quite good. So
you entered the arts industry on the idea of investments kind of thing.
Yeah, just to make money. And because I was studying, I had you have to do a lot of jobs to survive, and that was my job, to survive. And suddenly, well, if you then you invest half of the profit again, and so it worked out very good. And then you meet artists in the studio, because the galleries see you as a collector, which I wasn't. But and then there is this moment where there is an artwork you have bought and you don't want to sell it, because there's something special between you and the artwork. Mm-hmm. And this is the moment when you are a collector. And if you ask collectors in the world, no matter if they are a small collector or if they are like one of these top 10 collectors in the world, if you ask them, can you remember the moment when you bought the work, I think almost everybody would say yes, of course.
Right.
It's a piece of time of your biography that you buy and that you collect. And I can remember whatever I have of artworks at home. If you ask me about the situation and the girl I was dating at that time and the music I was listening to and the books I was reading, I still remember that.
Mm-hmm. So you have transitioned from sort of the financial sort of investment.
I was a small dealer, and suddenly I was a collector and a dealer, and so the decision was made very quick to work directly with artists and to present them. So I had a gallery by accident very, very early. I was very young. And it was very successful, but my other love of my life was always music. So I was producing music, writing songs for other artists. And so I switched again to the music industry, but then I missed art again. So I came back. I was directing some bigger galleries, doing Art Basel and Armory and Fries and all these big art fairs. And I always loved to work on or with art fairs.
I feel like I should be more intimidated all of a sudden with your resume that you're like throwing out. Should I be scared about interviewing you?
No.
Okay. All right. One little question actually I have for a lot of people that I talk to is, how did you sort of get created? I know it sounds like a funny way of saying it, but like, was your family interested in the arts? Was this like, part of your upbringing, or was it like a teacher or schooling, or like, how did you come to the arts?
My family were very. I'm not sure if they were very into this art scene. I think no, but they knew some artists, and we had a lot of art at home, and they wanted me to visit a lot of museums, and I was absolutely not interested. I found it boring until I was 21, to be honest. I never had the idea of doing something with art.
I believe
I
it.
wasn't interested.
So what was the thing that flipped it? What?
Like I said, there's one work you buy and you don't want to sell it anymore, and you try to discuss with the artist. You buy some books, you read a lot, you see a lot. I've seen a lot of art fairs and exhibitions in my life, and that was my training.
So what is it about art fairs versus, let's say, studio visits or art galleries or museums that you find so
As a visitor?
compelling? You can talk about it as a visitor, but I'm actually asking for you, like, why do you enjoy working in these versus working in some other? I'm sure you have the opportunity to work at galleries and museums.
I
and
always
other
loved
institutions.
art fairs because I love the atmosphere. It's so intense and concentrated in 1 week, and it's like a theater play. On which side you work, if you're a collector, a visitor, or if you are a seller or gallerist, for both sides, it's a very intense theater play.
Oh, I've been a participant. I've worked in art galleries that participated in art fairs. I've been an artist in an art fair, and I've also been a viewer, visitor of an art fair. Like I've seen various sides of it, and it's a very unique experience.
Yeah, for me, art is communication, and being on an art fair is so intense in terms of you meet so many people and you have so interesting discussions. I remember so many art fairs I have not produced, but the booth for a gallery I've designed, and you have discussions with your artists over weeks, and you think you know everything about their work, and suddenly you have a discussion with a visitor or collector in front of the work, and he tells you something you haven't seen before.
Sure.
And this is what it's so interesting.
And so you founded Positions 6 years ago, if I understand correctly.
2014, yeah, with a colleague,
okay,
Christian.
Yes, and you all have now expanded a lot. So you're in Frankfurt, Munich, Basel, and Berlin.
Yeah.
And you've now created this additional paper one as well. My preconceived notion, so like the idea of the podcast is that basically I'm an idiot and I don't understand anything, so please just help me understand things. My perception was I always saw art fairs as like there was a branding or a marketing company that sort of ran it, and then they hired other people to sort of actually do the nuts and bolts of it kind of thing. But yours seems to be a bit different. You seem to be very integrated and involved in every aspect of it. Yes?
Yeah, sure. You have to. We have a very also we I mean, it's not only the two directors, creating everything. We have a team which is very young, very motivated. Nobody is from the art market, so and that makes it maybe a bit special. And our idea when we sat together and thought about founding an art fair, I mean, I think nowadays we have more than 360 art fairs in the world. So
there are a lot.
In theory, you can visit an opening
day.
every day
Yeah.
in the year. And so you have to think about what makes us different. What do we like on other art fairs? What is not so perfect in our mind, on our point of view. So our main idea was that we wanted to make it a bit more familiar with our exhibitors.
Okay.
What can we do? To support galleries, not only to sell booths and then say goodbye, do do something with your visitors. I know that from many, many art fairs. And you feel so helpless as exhibitor sometimes.
Yeah, I mean that's the sense that outsiders we feel like it's just a financial transactions,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
hidden under the guise of an art opening.
This is true for most of the art fairs in the world.
Yeah,
And
so
I don't like that. So our way was to say no. We see our exhibitors as part of our family, and we try to find out how can we support all participants. What can we do? Are there collectors groups we can invite what we do? And we do very personal guided tours with them, Christian and me. And
yes, which you will be doing right after this podcast. As a matter of fact, we have a very short time for this.
No, and this is fun for me. I also want to have fun. It's not work.
I love that.
I love what I do. We love what we do. And we want to introduce visitors to galleries, artists to galleries. This is, I think, what makes us a bit different to other art fairs.
Okay.
And this idea with paper is also, that happened by accident as well. I mean, we got an offer for a location here in Berlin, I think in 2016 during gallery weekend. At that time, we only had positions here in September, and we wanted to do something during gallery weekend because we have like 150,000 visitors coming to Berlin during this weekend.
Wow.
So would have been stupid not to do something.
Sure.
And so somebody offered us a very interesting location, and we have been in there, and it was very small. And so we decided, okay, we want to do something, but we cannot present large canvases or installations because the walls were so tiny.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided, let's do something with paper. It's small, and not only presenting drawings, but because there's so much more possible with paper.
Yeah, expand on
So
what
that
the idea
was
of paper means, because I'm a photographer background, so I'm
paper
sort of
cuts and objects, even installations, photo, everything which has to do with paper.
Mm-hmm. I love that, because as a photographer and a printmaker and other mediums that I've worked in, I often feel like paper works are not as respected and not as well received. But on the other hand, they're great for young collectors. They're a good,
Yeah, of course.
easy ways
if
to
you
get
ask a
into
collector
it.
what was the first work you have bought in your life, I think that at least 80% would say it was a paperwork.
Absolutely, yeah. They're affordable. They're manageable, kind
Also
of thing.
small, you
Yeah.
don't need if you buy a 3x3 meter large painting,
Yeah, you need to have the space for it. Yeah, I mean, yeah. A lot of young collectors don't have those huge houses and apartments to necessarily handle these large pieces yet.
Yeah, so for this first exhibition, I was, visiting, I think, 23 Berlin galleries, and I asked them if I could have a look in their storage, and I found a lot of works by artists I didn't know, but when you check their vita, I immediately found out that there were so many artists who were so successful in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and they are totally forgotten. I mean, we had artists making shows at Documenta like twice or three times, at Venice Biennial, and they're in big museums, also in the United States and everywhere, but nowadays nobody knows them anymore.
I've heard this little story where, like, commonly people have been talking to me about somebody will go and do, let's say, a biennial or have some great thing, a Documenta, a Paris Art Fair, or Paris Photo, something like this, and then after like a few years, like their luster, maybe not even a few years, maybe after a year, it wears off. But when viewers see that they were part of, let's say, like Venice Biennial, they're like, oh, they're set for life. They've been in a biennial.
No.
But yeah, it's
If
totally not
you
true.
have a number one hit in the music industry, doesn't mean that you will have success for your whole life.
Right.
The market always needs new food.
Yeah, you're only as good as your most recent project.
Yeah. And you need somebody who supports you, like a gallery who works with you for many, many years.
So let's get back to the positions. So the art fair. I mean, one of the things I'm always wondering about, like, and this is, I'm sorry if this sounds bad, but like, how do they support themselves? How do they get funded? How do you even start one? Like, how do you get it up and running? Is it sponsors and government funding? Like, do you receive any grants or
no
anything?
government funding.
No government
We don't
funding.
want that. We want to be totally independent, and we even don't have. I mean, we are a small company, and we started small. We started with 4 people doing the first fair in 2.5 months, and that was very crazy in 2014 in an empty storehouse in the very center of Berlin. And we knew that everybody was maybe not so interested in our art fair, but they were very curious to see the location from inside, because almost everybody in Berlin knew this house, and nobody had the chance to visit it.
I love
and see
old
it from
dilapidated
inside.
places like
And
that.
it was totally rotten inside, and so we decided, oh, okay, we only have 2.5 months. We when we started, we had no idea if we can find any exhibitor doing this crazy idea with us, and so we decided, let's make it very cheap, and let's try to create it like a typical Berlin art fair, like in the 80s. Because that was the moment, late 80s, beginning of 90s, where Berlin is quite famous, and I hate all these articles also in the last days talking about why is David Zwirner, Gagosian, all these big players, why don't they come to Berlin for an art fair? I mean, I don't care if they're here or not. And also, the art market in Berlin exists since 25 years, 30 years maximum. There was nothing before here in Berlin.
Sure.
So we are so young still, and we are the city of art is produced in Berlin, and the discussion about contemporary art, this happens in Berlin. Maybe we still don't have all these big collectors like London, Paris, New York. I mean, they have this since centuries. We only are here with this since one generation.
This is utterly fascinating to hear, because I'm an American. I've lived in the Middle East. I now live in Prague, and everybody says, "Oh, Berlin's art market is fabulous. You should go to Berlin." So the outside world believes that Berlin is amazing.
Yeah, it is. It is amazing.
Okay.
But not in terms of, art market. We don't have so many buyers here. It's growing. And as I said, we have this market existing just since 25 years.
Sure. So it's very bootstrappy DIY in the beginning, and so then you've now grown. So, for lack of a better way of explaining it, would you say that like Positions art fair is more on the line of like affordable art fairs?
No.
Okay, all right.
No.
You want to stay away from that terminology, I take it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I apologize.
No problem. I mean, we try to create a regular art fair, classical art fair, saying only galleries can apply.
Okay.
We don't accept applications coming from artists.
Okay.
And we are very interested in galleries, not being on the main road. If when you visit Frieze or Art Basel or Armory, you always see the same galleries. You always see the same artists. Sometimes when you're, into the middle of this chaos of an art fair, it's hard to remember, where am I now? Am I in Basel? Am I in Hong Kong or New York? Which art fair is this? Because it all looks the same. And there are so many fantastic and amazing galleries with such a strong program, created with so much love, and they are not on the main street. Nobody knows them, and they are even not interested in to participate in all these big art fairs. They don't have the money, and maybe they think this is not my world. I don't want to work like this.
Right.
And I know, in the meantime, I know so many of these galleries, and I really love what they do, because they work with the real young artists.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, nothing against Gagosian, but has he ever supported a young unknown artist?
Maybe when he was young, also,
Yeah, maybe. But I mean,
but not since then.
we, like I said, we always think about how can we support galleries, artists, young collectors.
It's very admirable. Like, I mean, because the general art fair vibe is very much like that, very, very elitist, like as far as both participating as a gallery, but also elitist in the manner of like visitors kinds of
It's
things.
a luxury thing. I mean, art is expensive, and you need to have the money to buy art.
Absolutely. And the space to place it in your life.
And it always have been like that, and it will always be like that. So
Yeah, I mean, but there's a level that like I find, like I've been to like Art Dubai and Art Abu Dhabi and these kinds of places, and like there's a level where like these galleries are coming with pieces that are, 10 meters long and stuff, and I'm like, even if I had the money, I don't have the space.
I had this discussion with a very famous collector in Basel in June, and I was surprised that they came up with this thought, because we sat together. I know him since many years. We sat together having a coffee, and he started the conversation, the discussion with this sentence. When I started buying art, he told me, I had like 50,000, 60, 80,000 euros to invest per year.
Right.
So if I would be this kind of collector nowadays, still, what can I buy here in Basel?
Yeah.
There is nothing.
The prices have gone so high.
And, the regular base of collectors who are making all these normal middle-sized galleries, not the top 1% represented on all these big fairs. I mean, the regular collector is a lawyer, is a doctor, they have some money, but they are not able to invest 1 million a year.
Right.
And I mean, you cannot find anything at all these big fairs if you want to buy something for 50,000 euros. It's very hard to find something.
It is, and it seems like it goes in like waves. Like, I mean,
yeah, this is the art market. The art market is always in waves.
Well, but even art fairs seem to go in waves. Like I watched
they are part of the market.
I know, yeah, but
they only react.
It's true, but like they bring very expensive pieces, and then they realize, oh wait, nobody's buying really expensive pieces. Then like 2 years later, it'll be
yeah.
more
This is
affordable
always
works, and then
this is
more
always
expensive.
a bad sign. If you're visiting an art fair, like one of the big art fairs, and they show all these very expensive works from like they owe them since maybe 10, 20, 30 years from their storage. This is a bad sign for the market. That always means there's a crisis coming up.
Interesting. Okay, good little forecaster for that. I like that.
And if the market goes well, and you see that on art fairs, because everybody is very brave and is showing experimental young artists, then everything is cool.
Okay, again, great forecast. So like if you walk in an art fair and you see super expensive stuff, run away.
Old stuff.
Old stuff.
When they show their storage, I don't know how to say that in English.
Yeah, their collection basically.
Their gold.
Yeah, the stuff they've been hoarding for years that they're finally now willing to sell off.
That means we need money.
Interesting. Okay. See, this is the kind of stuff that like I, as a outsider, we don't know these little nuances of these things. I love
these
this.
waves on the art market. This is the normal situation on the market.
Yeah. Okay.
I always say the crisis is the regular standard
Crisis
of the
is
market.
every day.
Yeah.
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 Okay. So now, when you're not doing like literally at the art fair, so like right now we're literally recording this in the middle of the art fair. Are you running a gallery? Are you doing consulting? What do you do the rest of the year?
being in preparation for the next fair.
Okay,
I mean,
so
the next
you're-
one is in 3 weeks. In
You're
Munich.
100% art fair director. That's
yeah,
your full-time job.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we do 5 art fairs a year now, and
That's a lot.
That's and it needs time in between to visit galleries, to find new galleries, to
Interesting. Okay.
visit exhibitions.
Well, that's an interesting thing. Like in my experiences with art fairs, it's galleries apply to participate.
Yeah,
but,
sure, they
But
do.
but you're saying sometimes you also go out.
Yeah,
and,
but you have a vision in your head how it would be perfect to the perfect look of our fair.
Uh-huh.
Of course, there's a vision, and of course I have galleries or programs of galleries I really would love to have here, and to be honest, not everybody wants to be part of this art fair.
Not everybody wants to be part of
So
any art fair.
sometimes it's a bit work, and nowadays where we have internet and emails, it's always the same. I can write like 100 emails to a gallery saying I love your program, I want you to participate. It's the same as if I call them like 10 times, but if I visit them in their rooms once, this is it.
Yeah, I know. I do like portfolio reviews and other things like this, and like every single time I talk to anybody, no matter how much you use technology, no matter how much you love technology, the art industry is still handshakes and conversations.
Yeah, and see artworks in the flesh. I mean,
well, but also
images-
people. It's relationships.
yeah,
It's really
it is.
ends
It's
up being about that.
communication.
Yeah.
And I want to see the galleries, and I want to see how the location looks like, how they hang their exhibitions.
Well, and they want to meet you. Like they don't want to read an email from you or hear a phone call from you. They want to meet you as much as you want to meet them.
Sometimes they don't want to meet me, but I'm still I'm going to visit them anyway. So, and sometimes it's like everywhere in the world and in life. After a minute, if you like each other or not,
Right.
and if there's a way to bring them to Berlin or not. But at least I've seen an exhibition. I maybe with an artist which is new for me maybe, and I like that.
Well, it's just nice hearing that you're the director of an art fair and you actually will go out and seek out.
Yeah,
new
I
and
want to see
different-
art. I mean, this is why I do that. I love art. I cannot exist without art.
I know, but like outside of like the general public, the non-artist, non-working in the arts, whatever, they imagine that people who run art fairs are just sitting in their offices, just like making phone calls and like arranging for logistics.
I mean, you could ask every director of every art fair, like Art Basel, Fries, or whatever. They all travel a lot to see art.
Okay, well, that's good to know. I mean, I'm trying to dispel rumors, basically, like you all don't just sit in your ivory tower and count your money and coordinate things and things like
count
this.
the
Like,
money.
you're-
That would be nice.
no, but you're actually out on the ground trying to, progress things. Also, trying to make it better, make it more interesting, more dynamic, whatever each art fair wants.
No, I mean, art is our passion. I mean, if it's only the question, how can we make as lot money as possible, choose another profession. Don't work in the art business. It's very hard to survive.
I understand. Yes. So I'm very interested because, as I said, my background is photography. I'm very interested in the papers positions. Tell me, just elaborate on that a bit more. So, like, why did, other than just a space thing that first time, I mean, choosing to continue it and then grow it, like, why?
It all happened by accident. As I said, the first thing was we found this location. It was only possible to do something with works on paper. It was extremely successful. I sat there alone, and when we opened and 5 minutes later I had to call my staff to come and help me because I was surprised. The next night I had to call almost every gallery. Hey, listen, I have sold your works. I need some new works here. And we were very surprised. So then we decided, okay, we wanted to have it more international, not only, works from 23 Berlin galleries. And the only way to do that, also in terms of having money to produce it, we decided to make a fair out of it. But it was still the same location, still small. So the setting was the same, but we sent out a newsletter. Listen, it's a new art fair in Berlin during gallery weekend. Apply if you want to participate. So we had like 30 participants coming from the United States and China, and I was surprised, but Berlin Gallery Weekend is quite famous, and everybody knows there are interesting visitors. So we did that, and then we had a lot of sales going to Munich. So the idea was very quickly born. We had to do something in Munich, so they don't have to travel to Berlin to buy some art. So we started that in Munich. And
but even that's just an interesting dynamic. You are instead of setting up an art fair in a particular place, let's take Berlin because it's the most sort of centralized in Germany, that instead of saying, okay, everybody has to come to us, we're going to go to you.
Yeah, because I was always wondering why there's no art fair for contemporary art in Munich, because they have so many fantastic galleries and institutions, museums and collections, and nobody tried to found an art fair there. So, and for us, it was a big decision. We always had the idea and the dream of going to Basel. But the first step was, let's do something, outside Berlin in Germany, in a city we know, and we have some friends there to help us and to support
relationships, connections,
Yeah, and we had a small team, and, we cannot do, it would be impossible to do something next year in New York. I don't have, we have some connections there, but it's too far away. You have to do that step by step. And our main goal a few years ago was we want to do something in Basel. So first step, can we organize an art fair outside Berlin, but in Germany? So we did it. It worked out very good. Then, we were sure, okay, we can do something in Switzerland, which is very, very complicated.
I would imagine.
And so we will see what's coming up next. We have been to Mexico City already, which is very, very interesting. Maybe there, I don't know. There are so many interesting cities. And with paper, Paper Positions Munich, we did it twice. It was very successful. And this year we are changing it a bit. It's not only Paper Positions anymore. It's a mixture of, it's a Positions Munich with a section of Paper Positions.
Okay.
Because you have to know a city quite good before you do something there.
Sure.
You need to
do your research.
I need to have the taste and the smell, and so.
Okay, so Paper Positions, which I'm very interested in. Is it so? Does it differ from standard positions? So, like, is it still galleries, or
it's still
galleries?
Artists, it's still galleries, but we do it without regular booths.
Oh,
we still want to have this feeling of an exhibition. So every gallery has its own kind of space, like wall space, to be there and not to be annoyed by their neighbors. But for the visitor, it's, sometimes visitors are a bit shy to enter a booth because it sometimes really looks like a private space with a big table and chairs and computers. Nobody is looking at you and say hello, welcome. And we are always interested in, working with young collectors or people who are interested but are still a bit shy to buy something. So this makes it a bit more easy for everybody to talk about art and to communicate and to meet people. We still work with this idea of an exhibition, but it's an art fair.
If an artist is listening to this podcast, what is the way that they can participate in an art fair? Because that's always the question, is how does an artist get to an art fair?
I know that there are a lot of art fairs in the world where an artist can participate directly presenting
Yeah,
his
so
works.
yeah.
Never do that. They only want your money, and don't do that.
I love it. Okay, it's
No,
great.
really. I mean, what do you expect as an artist? I mean, what do you expect?
Okay. I think that is excellent advice. I've always wondered about that because I've seen those art fairs where they're like, oh, yeah, if you pay X amount, you get a space and you can exhibit your work. But those are
Yeah,
not where the
but
collectors
most of the
go.
artists, and it's not part of their job. They are not. They are not. You know, they don't know these psychological things to sell their works. It's not their job.
Well, and the point of the art fair is that for to a lack of a better way of explaining it, but like the arbiters of good taste, the galleries, the people that have the expertise and all this have basically said, we have chosen this artist and we
Yeah.
think they are quality, therefore people should respect
And
our
this
opinion.
is very important for buyers and
Right.
for visitors. And you have, I mean, there are even these art fairs where you have galleries and artists, and this is even more stupid because I totally, I mean, imagine you have a gallery, you pay your employees, you pay your rent for your room, for the openings, for traveling,
shipping,
and you have to pay the
insurance.
same amount of money, you know, like the artist next to you. Sorry, but this is, I mean, whether the gallery is paying not enough money to rent the booth or the artist is paying away too much money.
Right, but I mean, there's
Don't
still,
do that. As an artist, my advice, don't do that. They really, they only want to make their money with you.
I get it.
You need a gallery.
That's
You
sort of
have
what
to
I was
look
leading
for a
to.
gallery. I
Yeah.
know it's hard, and I mean I have so much respect for artists. This is the hardest job I can imagine. I know that side of the business from, you know, working as musician and songwriter, and it's horrible because it's your, I mean, everything of your soul is into your work, and suddenly there are other people dealing with it, and this is so horrible, and I mean, impossible for me. Yesterday somebody asked me if I could imagine to be an artist, and I said no, nightmare. I mean, really, I have so much respect. So yeah, my advice is, you need a gallery.
That's great advice. I mean,
Visit galleries before you send something, because it's the stupidest thing you could do is just sending an email with your works and you have never been in that gallery. Your work has to fit into their program. This is so important.
okay, I've had a question about that, and I've asked a number of people this. Maybe you're not the right person for this, but I think you have the background. The idea of fitting into a gallery's program, is it that you want to match what, like, so like, let's say there's an artist that you work similarly to. Do you want to find the gallery that carries that artist, or do you want, is the idea of fitting into their program being something, being the unique thing that they don't already carry?
It's try and error, because
Right. So
every
different galleries
gallerist
will do it different
gallerist
ways.
is a different person, and why they like one artist and, you know, not the other one, you have to find out.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, like, I've done research on trying to get a gallery for myself at times in my life, and I'm always like, do I seek galleries that represent basically people just like me, or people, or galleries that don't have something like me in order to round out
Yeah,
their roster?
that's a good question. I mean, I would try first. I would try to find galleries with artists who I think work on my issues,
Okay.
who are very similar to my works. And yeah, it's really try and error. Sorry, there is no real advice.
No, I know there's
how
not.
to find a gallery. I mean, if there would be something, I would write a book and
I was
make
gonna
a lot
say,
of money
there's
with
tons
it.
of self-help books out there that
Yeah.
like give you advice on all
Forgive
this.
it. Forget it. I mean, don't buy these books. There is no such a real thing about it.
I know, and I came into doing this podcast with vocabulary like I'm trying to learn the trick, or I'm trying to learn.
There is
And
no trick.
Yeah, there is nothing.
Forget it.
There is
And
nothing.
if it's written on the book,
Or I'm trying to
that
learn the
there is a
system,
trick.
like trying
Yeah.
to figure out the system. There's no system. It's not. It's just you do what you do as well as you can do it, and you really just hope that your timing and your
And it
connections
needs
and
luck
whatever.
as well.
Yeah.
I mean, even participating on an art fair as as a exhibitor, you need luck.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you just miss the person who's running around at the fair, and you just don't see him or her.
Yeah.
It's really luck.
A lot of it seems to be that.
It is like that.
Yeah.
Like in every profession, in every business, you always need luck.
Which leads to my next question, which I'm guessing your answer is going to be luck, but I'm still going to ask it anyways. As part of the podcast, I created a quantifiable outcome to try and sort of show that I've been able to learn how the industry works in whatever fashion, which is to try and get a piece of my artwork on exhibition in the Museum of Modern Art in New York. Just one piece and just in one exhibition. And I'm asking everybody that I talk to, what's a step that can be done in that process to try to achieve that kind of a goal? I mean, it can be any institution, but my quantifiable one is Museum of Modern Art.
So you want to know the way how to bring your work into that show? I mean,
A step in the way. Like I don't
for the
expect
MoMA,
entire-
that's wow, that's a challenge.
I figure
Well,
if I'm going to
you
set
need
a
one
challenge,
of the big galleries to present your works. Maybe it could help to meet Jerry Saltz and have a good relation with him. I don't know.
yeah, I doubt that's going to happen. But it's a nice idea.
It's impossible to come into one of these shows.
Yeah.
But maybe you have luck. I mean, as I said in the very beginning, I have seen so many artworks from artists who have been so successful in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and well, sometimes these things happen that somebody sees your work and says, "Wow, this is still so unique and so contemporary." And even if the artist already died, it could happen. Like there's so many examples. I can't find a name right now. Maybe we had this very funny thing for the second or third paper positions art fair. I had an application coming from a gallery from abroad, and I didn't like the application, but for us sometimes it's very interesting to have a gallery from this country because it's the only application coming from this country. So I checked their program on the website and I found an artist and I liked her work immediately. And so I was researching a bit and I was so surprised to find out who this artist was and how successful and famous she was in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
And so I called this gallery to say, listen, we need a solo show with this artist. You have to come. You have to show her, because this is a story for us. Well,
Right.
we are always looking for stories we can tell to visitors, collectors, press, and so they came with these works, and I mean everybody went crazy. I had advisors calling me, asking, "Can you make an image? Can you send something? I heard about this artist." So sometimes these things happen.
Yeah, the nature of a story is a really important aspect that a lot of people who are not involved in the whole thing in the industry don't understand. That the story of, or the story behind, or the story about the connection. You're buying, you're collecting stories. Kind of that story is almost the most important thing.
No, not the most important
Okay.
thing, but it's important, and it makes it much easier to sell something. I mean, this is the same in every business, and not only in the art business. And of course, every gallery needs to it's much easier to sell something if there is a special story behind it. And for us, it's during an art fair, the only thing we can sell is information and is interest. And so this is so much easier to sell with a story.
Sure.
And for me, it's always so much fun to make tours, guided tours, if there are stories, because if you see an artwork, sometimes you see everything with your eyes immediately in front of it, but I think I would say in 95% of works I see there's so much more behind that, and you have to ask, and you have to learn the story, and what is all about, what is the story behind this. And for me, as a guide in that moment, it's more fun, and it's easier, to tell stories.
I love that. Yeah. So now, what's the future of positions?
I don't know. I really don't know. There are a lot of interesting cities in the world, but we are limited because we make our money by renting booths. With this money, we can have people working with us in our staff, and this amount of, not employees, of colleagues, this limits us on how many fairs or exhibitions we can do during a year, and it's very hard to say one day maybe to paper positions, I don't know, where we can't do that anymore because we are limited with time and money, and we have to make a decision between city A and city B. That would be very sad.
And just to be clear, you don't take any money from governments.
No.
Do you do any sponsorships, any corporate
Just
sponsors?
small. So if a big sponsor is listening to this, we are, you can buy us.
Yeah. You'll take
Not
a big
totally,
sponsor?
but we're always interested in support.
Okay.
We have a lot of supporters also with some money, but these big companies, I think the good times at the moment, it's we are not in the middle or in the beginning of a upcoming crisis. I think there are too many galleries, too many art fairs, too many of everything,
too many big corporate collections. Even it feels like those corporate collections are not buying as much. They're not as involved. They're not expanding as much, basically, as they once were, buying up a lot of works.
Yeah, and the political situations in many countries are so crazy and stupid, and I mean, we also have to deal with that. I mean,
right. Yeah, I mean, so this is again something that a lot of people on the outside don't think about, is that the economic situation in the world and or in the country you're in ends up affecting the scale and the quantity and potentially even the quality of an art fair that happens in a given country.
Is there enough money to be spent into the art market?
Well, but is there enough money in the art market to even participate in these art fairs?
Yeah.
Because if there aren't enough people buying artwork, then the galleries don't have the money to participate in the art fair. So it ends up being this, again, sort of vicious cycle that the world economy trickles down through this, whether we like it or not, even though it has nothing to do with us.
And we don't, it's very important not to forget, whatever you read in the big newspapers and the big magazines about, there's a record in auction for artist A, and big gallery is selling for millions of dollars to collector B. This is just the 1% of the art market.
Well, it's also the secondary market generally.
No, not only.
No? Okay.
No, not only.
Yeah, but those are the rares.
But this is not the art market. There even doesn't exist the art market. There are so many art markets. We only to have a look at Germany, there is not one art market in Germany. There are so many art markets in Berlin and in Düsseldorf and in Munich and everywhere. The art market doesn't exist.
And that leads me to think about social media and the internet and all that, how people are saying like, oh, the art market is becoming more global. But is it really becoming more global?
No, it's not.
Right.
It's not. It has been global all the time. I mean, not all the time, but since before the internet, since 50s, 60s. Yeah, but 99% of artists and galleries, they really have to work very, very hard to survive.
And it all starts from having a foundation, though. Like, I mean, you were saying you started positions in Berlin, and then from the basis of having something that works well there, you then sort of went to Munich, and then you went to Frankfurt. So a lot of people think that you should jump to some faraway market where you have no connections, but it really is about.
Yeah, there are there are a lot of requests, coming from people from abroad to do that. But we need a strong connection. There has to be at least one or two people we trust and who really can help us because they know people in town. I mean, it doesn't make sense to like a starship to go somewhere, landing there and being successful. I mean, we are a small company and we have to do it very, very, small steps, step by step, learning from fair to fair, from edition to edition, and growing, but slowly.
Great. All right. I know you've got somewhere else to be. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for coming.